Hi everyone, it's Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I'm here with another weekly video and tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness. Last week we talked about realtors, and this week we are going to be talking about new homes, and specifically the type of toxins that you're going to find in new homes and how to minimize that when you're looking at new houses. So I get this question quite often. Is it better to buy an old house or a new house? And obviously this is not just a black and white answer. There are so many factors that come into play when you're looking at homes. A new home generally does have more toxins, and specifically more toxins in the first 1 to 2 years of that home. And so, not to say that we don't want to buy brand new houses or we don't want to build new houses, but there are things that you can do if you're going to be moving into a new house that are really going to help reduce those toxins right off the bat. I'm also going to talk about some of the things that are actually better in new homes that older homes just don't have in terms of lower toxin materials, less toxic products, and better indoor air quality. So this week's video is based on a blog post that has been published this week. I have the blog post linked at the bottom of the video description. If you like to click on links and read studies, head there. Otherwise, we are going to get started and go through the slides on how to make a new house less toxic. So even if you haven't walked through a brand new home, you probably are familiar with at least the smell of new carpet. It's a very distinct smell that has become associated with all kinds of new construction materials, from floors to paint to cabinets, and it's the smell that screams new home and newly renovated, never lived in before. But that smell is also synonymous with VOCs, toxins, and a lot of off-gassing that happens in a space. I often get asked if new homes are better health-wise than older homes. And because every older home is completely different, and every builder uses different new construction techniques to build their new home, it's a question that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. So just like anything we consider in terms of a healthy house, there's options to weigh out when it comes to deciding to move into a new home. So while overthinking any choice and stressing over it is not the goal, it is important to logically weigh the options of a new home versus an established home. You have to remember the new home that you're going to live in, while it doesn't have to be perfectly toxin-free, still surrounds your body for a large portion of your day and ultimately your lifetime. So a space that has few VOCs, off-gassing, is a space that allows your body to thrive naturally. And in contrast, a new home that has formaldehyde and other VOCs, other toxins constantly off-gassing at a high level, is a space that causes our body to constantly detox more than it can handle. So our bodies naturally detox the environmental toxins that surround us constantly. Our systems are always working to get rid of the chemicals we come in contact with as a way of protecting our major organs and systems. So when we're overexposed to high levels of chemical toxins, our body just cannot work fast enough to naturally detox. This is when toxins start to build up in our systems, and when this happens, the trickle-down effect leads to sluggish hormone production, an overworked immune system, and it causes an overwhelming, unwell feeling. Oftentimes it happens so gradually that we don't even notice the unwell feeling. But I think you'll be surprised at just how much your home actually affects how you feel and how your body operates on a daily basis. So in today's post, we're going to go through off-gassing, as well as is a new home more toxic than an old home. We're going to talk about what is off-gassing and how does it even affect my home. We're also covering the healthiest ways to move into a new home, and then how to reduce new construction toxins for the long term. So first, the question I get asked all the time: is a new home really more toxic than an older home? And really, it truly does depend. Doesn't everything depend on something with these topics? But in short, probably yes. A new home is more toxic than an older home for a number of reasons. So the first reason that we're going to talk about is VOCs. Volatile organic compounds are everywhere. Trees outside give off VOCs. In fact, the difference is the VOCs inside your home have no place to escape, and instead of dissipating outside, VOCs inside our home become trapped and more concentrated. Formaldehyde, which is one of the most common VOCs, is in a number of building materials and building products, from engineered wood to carpets. Indoor VOC exposure has been linked to pulmonary diseases, including asthma, COPD. The age group most affected by asthma were those ages 1 to 18 by more than double. So it's really affecting kids. Indoor VOC exposure has also been linked to an increased risk of developing certain types of cancers and negatively affecting the neurological system. The other thing we have to talk about is curing and drying time. So VOCs are typically off-gassing the most while a product or solvent is curing or drying. This is why wet paint smells so strongly, and as it dries, the odor becomes less and less. The truth is, however, that some products we think have fully cured or dried actually have not. Some building materials can take weeks up to a month to fully cure and dry out. So this means that the off-gassing coming from these new home materials are at their absolute highest levels in the beginning. As the products continue to dry, cure, and age, generally the off-gassing becomes less and less in new construction. That initial 12-month period of a home will produce the absolute highest level of VOCs in the home's lifetime. So when you think about the square footage of a home in comparison to the new construction material brought in, the ratio is quite equal. This is in comparison to a home construction project like finishing a basement, where the new construction materials are a small portion of the home's total square footage. So when the toxins are across nearly all the square footage of a home, the concentration of toxins is higher. And this means a new home that has new plywood, new counters, new flooring, new paint, and new insulation has much more off-gassing happening per square foot than a home that is adding just one new component. And then the dust, the fine particles of dust that comes along with any home project end up in the HVAC system and ductwork, no matter how well the home is cleaned after construction is done. The dust particles will contain toxins from flooring fibers, drywall, engineered wood, insulation, and dust from cut wood and flooring. The dust will continue to travel around the house for a period of time after construction until it can all get filtered out through a furnace filter or air purifier. So meanwhile, you end up breathing in these toxins when you're inside the home. And finally, energy efficiency. This is a concern on newer houses. A new home is created to be much more energy efficient in comparison to its counterpart built even 10 to 20 years ago. And while energy efficiency is great for reducing a carbon footprint and your wallet, it can also mean that toxins get trapped inside and have no place to get out. It also means that fresh air isn't coming inside to dilute the indoor air either. So extremely energy efficient homes can also create a negative air pressure inside. This can lead to high levels of radon getting pulled inside the home through the lowest level. But there are ways that newer homes have some really healthy components that older homes just don't have. So first is radon mitigation. Depending on what state you live in, many homes have made it required and mandatory to build homes with radon mitigation systems, either passive or active installed. In Minnesota, radon mitigation systems have been required since 2009. So any home built after this will likely have a radon system, and any home built before usually does not have any sort of radon system unless it's been added retroactively. So radon is the number one cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and it's highly carcinogenic to those with any sort of weakened respiratory system and children. Radon is more prevalent in older homes due to the cracks naturally found in the foundation. So if an older home is renovated, the radon levels can be drastically raised due to negative air pressure. All materials used in new construction and new homes are required to be lead and asbestos free. This just wasn't the case in older homes. So many homes built anytime before the 1970s can contain lead paint, lead pipes, asbestos insulation, asbestos floor tiles, and asbestos ceiling tiles. Lead is extremely harmful to children as it builds up in their systems, causing problems with slowed growth, lower IQ, behavior problems, anemia, and hyperactivity. Even in adults, lead exposure can lead to a decreased kidney function, reproductive problems, and increased blood pressure. Asbestos is a cancer-causing material that can present in many different areas of an old house. Asbestos exposure has been linked to lung cancer and abdominal cancer, as well as mesothelioma. So new homes have one of the best additions, in my opinion, to improve indoor air quality, and that is the air exchanger system. So these can also be retrofitted to older homes, but in new homes, they are installed immediately upon construction. These systems not only bring in fresh air from outside, but it is filtered as it comes through into the house to prevent dirt and dust from entering your space as well. The system then takes that indoor air and pumps it outside through a vent, and quite literally, it's exchanging the air inside your home. So when used properly, indoor air exchangers can reduce VOCs, radon, and other toxins inside the home that contribute to poor indoor air quality. The trick with air exchangers, however, is that the filters must be cleaned. If the filters aren't clean, they can actually cause negative air pressure in the home, which can increase toxins, including radon. And then one more interesting little tidbit. So a study done in Switzerland tested VOCs in both new construction homes and homes that were remodeled to be energy efficient. So overall, the energy renovated homes had higher levels of most VOCs when compared to newly built homes. The homes that were remodeled were originally built between like 1950s and 1990, and those with attached garages had particularly higher levels of VOCs in the home. So this tells us that when energy efficient improvements are made to older homes, it's also necessary to pair that with actions that will reduce toxins and VOC exposures inside the home. So we've talked a lot about off-gassing, but what is it and how does it affect your home? So off-gassing is the release of chemicals from a substance in vapor form. Odor is often a telltale sign of off-gassing, but even after the odor has dissipated, the materials are likely still off-gassing. After the initial off-gassing with odor, however, the material is off-gassing less than in the beginning. Off-gassing of VOCs in an environment with higher levels of humidity have been shown to affect the human body and specifically its cells in a more harmful way than drier environments. So they found that not only are the higher concentrations of VOCs in human environments more, but our bodies actually absorb the toxins more quickly and at higher rates. Toxins also off-gas at a higher level due to increased heat. A warm home will encourage more off-gassing from materials as opposed to a cool, dry home. And the warmer an environment is, the more materials will off-gas into the air, especially at the beginning of the home's life. It's important, though, to remember that not all toxins are VOCs, and so not all toxins will off-gas. Most toxins in building materials are either plastic toxins or VOCs. Both of these types of toxins are unhealthy, but toxins that off-gas have a higher potential for issues as they directly affect our indoor air quality. The number of different VOCs that are present in the world is vast, and it's seemingly never-ending. So each VOC can have negative effects on various parts of your health and wellness. Most commonly, VOCs can cause hormone disruption and an increased risk of cancer and neurological issues. So how do we reduce all of this? There are some great tactics that you can use to protect your family while moving into a new home, which may contain more toxins. The first and foremost, wait it out. If at all possible, try to wait at least 30 days after construction is finished to move into your home. This is especially true if you are using PEX piping in your home, which can leach toxins into your water at high levels during those first 30 days after the installation. While you're waiting to move into your space, try to have your home opened up as much as possible to allow complete air exchanges to be happening constantly. The next thing is use your vented fans, your air exchanger, your whole house fans, ceiling fans to get air moving and out of your house constantly. The more you use these systems right away, the quicker you'll be able to get the VOCs out of your house as they are off-gassing. You just want to make sure that you're replacing your air filter in your HVAC unit and air exchanger much more frequently during high levels of use. Get an air purifier. This can help catch particles that VOCs have adhered to and construction dust. I highly recommend the Medify Air MA115 for bedrooms where you'll spend long periods of time. These purifiers will capture such small particles and trap them in its filter, removing them from your air forever. Now, if you can only afford one air purifier, you can just move it from room to room over a few day period and then start back over again. So it's important to remember to replace your filters frequently during these first few months. With all the particles it will likely be picking up, the filter can get clogged more quickly, making it not as efficient. You'll also want to replace your air filters frequently. So air filters have a set surface area to collect particles and debris from your indoor air. The more dust and particles that are in your air, the more quickly the filter surface will get plugged and clogged from those particles. In the first year of your home being built, it's not a bad idea to replace your filters in your HVAC system and air purifier every 2 months or so. I like to purchase a box of air filters and then keep it by my unit so that I don't run out and I don't have an excuse not to change it when it's time. You'll also want to wash your air exchanger filter on a pretty regular basis to prevent clogging from the large amount of toxic dust that's getting trapped. You can also remove dust professionally. So again, the dust is going to be in fine particles and it's extremely toxic due to materials used to build the home just being in the dust. So believe me when I tell you that you can actually clean multiple times and still there will be drywall dust and fine particles of dust in your home and on your surfaces. So this is a time when I sometimes recommend a professional to clean out your duct system and get the debris and fine dust out of the way. You can also hire a company to come through and clean and use a pressurized fan to remove all the dust and debris from your home in a very safe and efficient way. The last resort, and often a tactic used if you just can't get rid of a toxic smell in your home, is the bake-out method. So it's essentially creating an extremely hot environment for the toxins to off-gas at high rates in a controlled environment prior to moving inside. So there has been evidence that the bake-out method does work at least a little bit to reduce off-gassing down the road. It speeds up the process, and so what's left are still toxins, but they off-gas at a rate that is extremely low, as if it were an older product or material. A bake-out requires you to raise the indoor air temperature to an extreme for 2 to 3 days. And while you are completely ventilating 6 to 7 times over the course of those days, you'll be kind of flushing out those VOCs. I think that flushing VOCs out through ventilation is much more effective, but this is an option. And then finally, you can seal it. So a product like AFM Safe Coat can seal and block VOCs from off-gassing into a new home as well. They now make products for everything from plywood to finished surfaces, and they even have one for carpet now. So this method will require a lot of work, but it is worth it in the long run. So while purchasing a new home is likely less healthy than purchasing an older home, it doesn't mean that there aren't ways you can work around this and make it a healthier space. So by reducing toxic VOCs that off-gas into your home, you can help create an indoor space that really supports your health and So whether you'll be moving into a new house or you're just contemplating the idea of perhaps purchasing a new home instead of looking at older homes, you can always make it less toxic. If you guys have any questions about today's video, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll be back again next week with another healthy house tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness.